The story of Laneyville is inseparable from the railroad. This small town, nestled in the heart of America, owes its very existence to the iron tracks that cut through its center. In the heart of America, during the boom of the 1800s, the town was born. It was a time when the nation was expanding westward, and the promise of new opportunities drew people from all walks of life. It was a time of westward expansion. Pioneers, driven by dreams of prosperity and a better life, ventured into uncharted territories, and the railroad was their lifeline. The promise of prosperity echoed with each clang of the hammer and hiss of the steam engine. The construction of the railway was a monumental task, requiring the labor of countless workers who toiled day and night. Laneyville, named after its ambitious founder, Elijah Laney, seemed destined for greatness. Elijah was a visionary, a man who saw the potential of the railway to transform a simple settlement into a thriving hub of commerce and culture. The railway connected this fledgling town with the rest of the nation. It was more than just a means of transportation. It was a conduit for ideas, goods, and people. It brought in goods, people, and, most importantly, hope for a bright future. The arrival of the train was always a moment of excitement, as it carried with it the promise of new opportunities and connections. The railway was Laneyville's lifeline. It was the artery through which the town's lifeblood flowed, bringing in everything from food and supplies to new residents eager to start a new life. Merchants, farmers, and prospectors alike relied on the iron horse. The train was their link to the wider world, allowing them to sell their goods, reach new markets, and stay connected with distant family members. It was their link to markets, families, and the ever-expanding American dream. The railway symbolized progress and the boundless possibilities that lay ahead. The rhythm of the train became the town's heartbeat, its whistle a familiar melody. The sound of the train was a constant reminder of the town's connection to the rest of the country and the opportunities that lay beyond the horizon. But like all tales of progress, this one too had a darker side. The relentless drive for advancement often came at a high cost, and the railway was no exception. The relentless pursuit of advancement often overlooked the safety of those who toiled on the rails. Workers faced grueling conditions, and their safety was frequently compromised in the name of progress. Corners were cut, risks were taken, and the consequences, as history would show, could be devastating. Tragic accidents were not uncommon, and the human cost of building the railway was often overlooked. Little did the townsfolk know, the very symbol of their prosperity, the midnight train to Laneyville, would soon become a harbinger of tragedy. The train that once brought hope and opportunity would soon be remembered for a night of sorrow and loss. It was a stormy October night in 1883, the kind of night where the wind seemed to carry whispers of old secrets and untold stories. The sky was a dark, foreboding canvas painted with streaks of lightning that illuminated the town of Laneyville in brief, eerie flashes. The wind howled like a banshee, its mournful wail echoing through the empty streets and rattling the windows of the old wooden houses. It was as if nature itself was warning of the impending doom. Rain lashed against the windows of Laneyville, each drop a tiny hammer pounding relentlessly. The storm showed no mercy, and the town seemed to shrink under its relentless assault. Most residents were already asleep, blissfully unaware of the chaos that was about to unfold. Their dreams were undisturbed by the storm, cocooned in the warmth of their beds. The late-night silence was shattered by a deafening screech of metal on metal. It was a sound that cut through the storm, a harbinger of disaster that jolted the town awake. The midnight train, usually a beacon of hope, had derailed at the sharp bend just outside town. The carnage was unimaginable. The train, once a symbol of progress and connection, now lay in ruins, a twisted monument to the storm's fury. The wooden carriages, no match for the untamed fury of the storm and the unforgiving terrain, were reduced to splinters. The once sturdy structures were now nothing more than kindling, scattered across the muddy ground. Screams pierced the night, only to be swallowed by the wind and rain. The cries of the injured and the dying were a haunting symphony of despair, lost in the tempest. The townsfolk, awakened by the disaster, rushed to help, their lanterns bobbing in the darkness. The flickering lights were like fireflies in the storm, small beacons of hope amidst the chaos. The scene that greeted them was horrific. Bodies lay strewn across the wreckage, some motionless, others writhing in pain. The air was thick with the smell of coal smoke, blood, and the acrid scent of burning wood. Twisted metal, broken bodies, and the air thick with the smell of coal smoke and blood painted a picture of chaos and despair. The once orderly train was now a jumbled mess of destruction. The injured cried out for help, their voices fading with each passing moment. Each cry was a plea for salvation, a desperate call that seemed to go unanswered in the storm's fury. The townsfolk, unprepared for the scale of the disaster, worked tirelessly through the night. Their hands, though inexperienced, moved with determination and urgency, driven by the need to save their fellow townspeople. They desperately tried to free survivors from the wreckage. Each person pulled from the twisted remains was a small victory, a glimmer of hope in an otherwise bleak night.
The scene was it was pure chaos. The storm raged on, making every effort to help feel like a battle against nature itself. We did our best to help, but the storm made everything so much harder. The wind and rain were relentless, turning the rescue efforts into a grueling test of endurance and willpower. The cries for help, they still haunt me. The faces of those we couldn't save, the sounds of their suffering, they are etched into my memory forever.
The days following the accident were a blur of grief and despair. The townsfolk, united in their sorrow, helped bury the dead and tend to the injured. Yet the disaster's impact went far beyond the immediate casualties. The heart of Laneyville, once brimming with hope, was shrouded in a pall of gloom.
The once familiar whistle of the train now sent shivers down their spines. Whispers of the disaster, of the souls lost and the lives shattered, filled the air. The townsfolk, forever scarred by that fateful night, carried the weight of the tragedy in their hearts.
Strangely, amidst the collective grief, a sense of unease began to settle over Laneyville. Questions lingered in the air, heavy and unanswered. Why did the train derail? Was it simply the storm, or was there something more?
The mystery of the midnight train to Laneyville would haunt the town for generations to come. Its whispers carried on the wind, forever a part of Laneyville's story.
The once strong bond between the town and the railway was irrevocably broken, replaced by a deep-seated mistrust and resentment. The townsfolk, their grief turning into simmering anger, felt betrayed. They knew the truth lay buried beneath layers of corporate greed and indifference. The midnight train, once a symbol of progress, now represented something far more sinister: the callous disregard for human life in the pursuit of profit. Some whispered of faulty brakes, others of overworked engineers forced to run behind schedule. A few even spoke of shoddy track maintenance sacrificed for profit. The company, however, remained tight-lipped, hiding behind their official statement and legal counsel. The speed of the investigation, the lack of transparency, and the company's eagerness to deflect blame fueled suspicions. Rumors spread like wildfire. The railway company, quick to control the narrative, blamed the storm for the derailment. A swift investigation, or so they claimed, ruled out any mechanical failure or human error. However, whispers of a cover-up began to circulate through the grieving town.
As months turned into years, the physical scars of the tragedy began to heal. The town of Laneyville, once vibrant and full of life, slowly started to rebuild itself from the ashes of its past. Buildings were reconstructed, streets were repaved, and the community came together in a collective effort to restore what had been lost. The seasons changed, marking the passage of time, and with each passing year, the town grew stronger, more resilient. Yet despite the visible progress, the memory of that fateful night lingered in the air, a haunting reminder of the fragility of life. The twisted metal was cleared away, the tracks repaired. Workers toiled day and night, their faces etched with determination and sorrow. The sound of hammers and machinery filled the air, a stark contrast to the silence that had once enveloped the town. Each piece of metal removed, each track laid down was a step towards healing, a testament to the town's unyielding spirit. The reconstruction was not just about restoring the physical infrastructure, but also about mending the broken hearts of the townsfolk. But the emotional wounds, the unseen scars lingered in the hearts of the townsfolk. Faces that once bore smiles now carried somber expressions. Conversations that were once filled with laughter were now tinged with sadness. The nights were the hardest as memories of the tragedy resurfaced, casting a shadow over the town. People gathered in small groups, sharing their grief, finding solace in each other's company. The pain was a silent companion, always present, always felt. It was then that the stories began. Whispers of a phantom train, forever bound to the tracks where it met its doom. In dimly lit rooms, hushed voices spoke of eerie sightings, of a train that appeared out of nowhere, only to vanish moments later. The tales spread like wildfire, capturing the imagination of the townsfolk. Some dismissed them as mere figments of a collective imagination, while others believed them to be true, a supernatural manifestation of the town's grief.
The legend of the midnight train, once a symbol of progress and connection, morphed into something far more eerie. The train station, once bustling with activity, now stood as a silent witness to the past. On certain nights, it was said, the station would come alive with an otherworldly presence. The air would grow cold, and a mist would envelop the tracks, heralding the arrival of the spectral train. The transformation was both fascinating and terrifying, a reminder of the thin line between reality and the supernatural. It was said that on stormy October nights, the anniversary of the disaster, the spectral train would reappear. The wind would howl, and the rain would lash against the windows, creating an atmosphere of dread. Those brave enough to venture out claimed to have seen the train, its ghostly form illuminated by flashes of lightning. The sight was both mesmerizing and chilling, a spectral reminder of the tragedy that had befallen the town. The reappearance of the train became a yearly event, a macabre tradition that kept the memory of the disaster alive. A ghostly light would pierce the darkness, followed by the mournful wail of a distant whistle. The sound echoed through the night, sending shivers down the spines of those who heard it. The light, ethereal and otherworldly, seemed to beckon to the living, a bridge between the past and the present. The whistle, filled with sorrow, was a haunting reminder of the lives lost, a mournful cry that resonated with the collective grief of the town. The combination of light and sound created an eerie spectacle, one that left an indelible mark on all who witnessed it.
Some dismissed it as mere superstition, the grieving town clinging to its pain. They believed the stories were a way for the townsfolk to cope with their loss, a means of giving shape to their sorrow. Skeptics argued that the sightings were nothing more than tricks of the light, the product of overactive imaginations. Yet, despite the skepticism, the legend persisted, a testament to the power of collective memory. The gatherings continued, with people sharing their experiences, their fears, and their hopes. The legend became a part of the town's identity, a symbol of its resilience and its pain. Others, however, claimed to have seen it with their own eyes. A fleeting glimpse of a spectral train, its windows glowing with an eerie light, speeding through the night only to vanish into thin air. These accounts were detailed and vivid, describing the train in such a way that it seemed almost real. Witnesses spoke of the train's ghostly appearance, its windows glowing with an unearthly light, and the way it moved silently through the mist. The sightings were brief, but they left a lasting impression, adding to the mystique of the legend. The spectral train became a symbol of the town's unresolved grief, a ghostly reminder of the past that refused to be forgotten.
The legend of the midnight train wasn't just a ghost story. It was a manifestation of the town's collective trauma, a chilling reminder of the tragedy that had forever stained Laneyville's history. The stories, the sightings, and the eerie events were all part of a larger narrative, one that spoke to the deep-seated pain and loss experienced by the townsfolk. The legend served as a way for the community to process their grief, to make sense of the senseless, and to find a way to move forward. It was a testament to the enduring power of memory and the human spirit's ability to find meaning in the face of tragedy. It was a manifestation of the town's collective trauma, a chilling reminder of the tragedy that had forever stained Laneyville's history. The legend of the midnight train became an integral part of the town's identity, a symbol of both its sorrow and its strength. The stories, passed down through generations, kept the memory of the disaster alive, ensuring that the lives lost were never forgotten. The town of Laneyville, with its haunted past and resilient spirit, stood as a testament to the enduring power of memory and the unbreakable bonds of community.